Welcome to the BTM Club show. Of
Thank
course,
you.
it's always about the legends that are doing great things, whether it be wherever in the arts, music,
Absolutely.
acting, theater, wherever. And today we are raising the bar yet again, even higher, with the legend that is Mr. Eddie Henderson.
Thank you so much for having me.
Can I say, what an honor it is to have a legend like you come
Thank
and visit me in my living room.
Oh, that's wonderful. Wonderful.
How have you been?
Hmm.
How have you been?
Wonderful. Well, I can't complain.
Since we last saw each other, which was, I have to say, I was very fortunate to be able to see this gentleman at the Pizza Express
Right.
live, which was something quite special. So, do you come to London often?
Not that often. I would say twice a year.
Okay.
Sometimes at Ronnie Scott's. I think I'm coming to Ronnie Scott's for one day in April.
Right.
Uh,
Okay.
yeah. And then sometimes at the Pizza Express. And there's a church there in London that gives jazz concerts. I don't know the name of it. I come there with a group called the Cookers
Is it
every
Cadogan Halls?
a big church.
Okay. I can't think offhand, but
Okay, I don't know the
it was
name
a
of it.
pleasure to see you in person performing
Well,
and
it was nice seeing you in the front row grooving to the music. You stood
all the
out of
way through
the
front row. Because when you come to things like that, you really have to be immersed in it. And I don't want
Absolutely.
anybody in front of me standing up and moving around, and I want to be able to see you. So
That's right.
that's why I was in the front row. But what I have to say is, apart from all the stories that you told, which we will get to,
Okay.
um, I've never seen another artist, musician,
Mhm.
performer take time out and go and sit on the side and let their band play.
Oh,
I've
well,
never seen that ever. So
well,
I
I
was
used,
quite enthralled to see you
yeah,
do your part with the trumpet and play the lead and then go and graciously sit to the side
and watch.
and watch while they play for a bit, and then you saunter back up and you play for
Yeah.
a bit, and then
Well,
you
well,
saunter back over.
well, that's
And then,
how I learned. I used to see Miles Davis do the same thing. I used to see John Coltrane do the same thing. They play what they had to say, and then you walk off the stage.
and
And
then
then,
let the band do the rest.
yeah, yeah,
I thought that was fantastic. Well, of course, I haven't had the opportunity or honor of seeing either of the two you mentioned, Miles Davis or
yes,
Coltrane. But
right,
I see that you've kept that tradition and you've brought that tradition
yeah.
forward.
All my role models like Freddie Hubbard, Lee Morgan, Joe Henderson, Dexter Gordon, they would all do the same thing. They'd play and then walk off the stage and let the rest of the guys,
Right.
take up
Okay. So this
pass the
is
baton.
something that's actually quite a tradition with
Absolutely.
jazz musicians. Right. Okay. I have never
Yeah.
seen it. Never
It
seen
wasn't
it. So I
nothing
was in awe.
unique that I did.
I was in awe. I was like, this man is really chilling in his performance. It's like
That's cute.
really chilling. I mean, they're so relaxed. And I mean, yeah, to sit in the front row and see you so relaxed, it was great. So
Wow.
tell me about how music started for you because you told so many wonderful stories
Hmm.
throughout the concert. And I hope we touch on a few of those today.
Okay.
Um, how did it start for you, music?
Well, music was in my family tree. My mother was a dancer in the original Cotton Club. She was Billie
Wow.
Holiday's roommate in the Cotton Club. Lena Horne was her best friend. And my father, he was a singer in an iconic group called the Billy Williams and the Charioteers in the early 40s. They were the number one black singing group in America over and above
Right.
the Mills Brothers and the Ink Spots. Called their group was the Charioteers. So music was in my blood, first of all. And all these people that I mentioned, like Billie Holiday, Lena Horne. I understand that Billie Holiday and Lena Horne changed my diapers when I was a little boy. Of course, I don't remember.
No, I
But
don't
that's
think you remember that. But I mean,
no.
I love how he can just brandish these names around,
Oh,
these
yes.
legendary names around. Well, Billie Holiday and Lena
Yeah,
Horne, they changed my diaper. I don't
yeah,
remember, but
yeah, I'm name dropping.
absolutely. So they were friends of your mother, I take it.
Yes, yes. Did you ever see that iconic film of Fats Waller, who wrote Ain't Misbehavin'? And it's a video. It's shown all around the world. And a
Okay.
beautiful lady sitting on the piano singing Ain't Misbehavin' to Fats Waller. Did you ever see that?
No, I've never seen it, but I know
Oh,
Ain't Misbehaving.
yeah, yeah. Well, that's my mother singing it to Fats Waller on that iconic video.
Really?
It's shown all around the world. Yeah. So
Wow.
that music started for me. All these iconic musical people were just named, commonplace.
So what time frame can you put on it? Can you say it was 50s, 40s? When was it that
This was
this started
in
for
the
you?
40s, in the
40s.
40s. And then I remember my mother, and I'm a name drop again. My mother and Sarah Vaughan was another friend of hers. Took me to when I was 9 years old, 1949, to see Louis Armstrong, and took me backstage. And Louis Armstrong, on his trumpet and his mouthpiece, taught me how to make a sound on the trumpet. But of course, I
Yeah.
had no idea of the stature that he held in the world. I thought it was just an average man, walking down the street. Yeah, yeah,
Oh, well, average. I don't know about that, average. But
yeah, yeah.
well, I mean, the people that you're saying are your mentors are really the finest
Oh,
in their
absolutely.
field, which
Absolutely.
explains your expertise with the instrument. Because
Thank
if
you.
you're using them as your yardstick by
And
which
that's
you're
my
putting a
yardstick.
standard, that explains it all.
Yeah, yeah. I was very blessed to have a genetic makeup like that from my mother and father, and the people that surrounded them. It was just commonplace to me. People like Sugar Ray Robinson, Joe Louis, Bojangles. Bill Robinson was my mother's dance partner in the Cotton Club.
Bojangles.
Yeah, and so he would
See
come
how he
over.
just casually says,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. People like Dizzy Gillespie would come over. Then Miles Davis when I was a teenager. My stepfather, because my real father died when I was 9, so my mother remarried a doctor in San Francisco who loved jazz. So from age 14, my mother and I moved to San Francisco, and his clientele were Duke Ellington, Count Basie, Billie Holiday, on and on, John Coltrane, Miles Davis. So I
Because
meet
that whole Cotton Club era was really the 20s when it was at its height,
exactly,
isn't it? Duke
exactly.
Ellington and Cab
The heyday.
Calloway and yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. And so I was very blessed. In high school, I was still taking trumpet lessons at the San Francisco Conservatory. So when I came home from my lesson, I was a junior in high school. Guess who was staying at the house for 2 weeks? Miles Davis. And so I'd heard of him, but I didn't really know who he was. Well, he took me to his gig that night in his car, just Miles and myself. And in his band was John Coltrane, Cannonball Adderley, people like that. It blew my mind. And so that's when I started on the trail to jazz music. That's what I wanted to do.
Right. Because I'm trying to establish, as you say, your mother was a singer, dancer in the Cotton
Mhm.
Club era. They were all her friends. So
Yeah.
what was it that made you decide trumpet was going to be your instrument?
When I
Because
heard
in
Miles
that
Davis play.
environment, Duke Ellington was a piano man and Count Basie a piano man. So
Yes,
what
yes.
made you decide that trumpet was your instrument?
When I heard Miles Davis play in person, I'd heard of his name, but that night when he took me to the gig and had all these other iconic players playing with him, just the sound of his horn was mesmerizing. And I said,
And how old were you when he took you to this gig?
I was 17, but
Right.
I could play the trumpet pretty well because I was studying at the San Francisco Conservatory of Music, studying classical trumpet, but I didn't know how to improvise. I could play the instrument, but I didn't know how to play, how to
Yeah.
improvise.
But the
Yeah,
wonderful thing is, it really is a testament to being in the environment
absolutely.
because, yeah, being in the environment because every artist that I've spoken to, people on the outside might think that their rise to fame was just overnight. But number one, it's
Uh,
not overnight. And
Oh,
number two,
absolutely.
it's because of the influences and encouragement they had
Ex-
in their formative years.
This is true.
So, did your mother really encourage you? Your parents encourage you? Because obviously it was your stepfather. Did they encourage you in music?
Uh, well, they saw that I was playing, but they didn't really push me toward it. You know,
Right.
uh, I took an aptitude test in the fifth grade, and my best friend he passed also. So that's when I start at the school. All they had, my friend played the clarinet, so I wanted to play the clarinet, but they ran out of clarinets. All they had left was the accordion and violin. So of
Oh.
course I said, no, 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 no. So my mother's brother, who was also in the Cotton Club dance, he was a Cotton Club dancer. He had a trumpet, so he gave me his trumpet. So that's how that began, and he encouraged me to play the trumpet. I started taking lessons in elementary school.
Well, they obviously saw that you were gifted, you had a
Uh-huh.
talent, and
Yeah,
they did encourage you to pursue it. Then I'm not saying push you, because
yeah,
encourage you is something quite different from forcing or pushing.
yeah.
If they
When I
saw that you had an interest in it, they encouraged you and said,
yeah
"Well, yeah, go ahead."
yeah when I heard Miles Davis play, that touched a root canal nerve in my musical being, saying that's what I want to do for the rest of my life. It was mesmerizing.
And that was when, would you say?
That was 1957. I was still in high
1957.
school. This is when he had Coltrane. That iconic album, Kind of Blue.
Yeah, I
uh,
know Kind of Blue.
that's the band that I heard. So that music of that era, 57, 58, yeah, was the spark that encouraged me to pursue it
And
full.
at that time, Miles Davis had Coltrane in his band.
Yes.
You see, it's something quite special, that whole era of all of those people collaborating,
Oh,
coming together. And you're saying that those are all great names in their own right. I mean, it does happen
absolutely.
today, but they're all great names in their own right. And you can only expect that they will create magic with so many,
Absolutely. Absolutely.
with
And
so
I
many.
was lucky I was there. It's like serendipity. I was there right at the right time in the right place.
Yeah, wonderful. Well, I mean, the hit that we all know you for, of course, is
Right. So,
Prance On. And I have
right.
a friend, her name is Michelle Matheson.
Uh-huh.
That is her favorite track of all time.
No kidding.
Every time I'm on the radio and she's listening, every time she comes to an event, she says, "Can you play Prance On?" So this is for you, Michelle Matheson, the legend himself, Eddie Henderson.
That's
But
really nice.
you told a fascinating story, and I have to say fascinating because the hit that Prance On was in 1978, 79,
Yes.
it was huge. It was a
Yes,
huge
it was.
smash track. Now, seeing your catalog of
Mhm.
music, shall we say, you realize Prance On stands alone.
Yes.
You-
Yeah.
when you hear you playing your repertoire, and then you hear Prance On stands alone.
Yes.
It is completely different. The
True.
tempo and everything. So
Yes.
please share with us the wonderful story that you shared on the night of why
Right.
Prance On is the tempo that it is.
Yes. Well, what actually happened that particular record that Prance on, and it was written by a percussion player named Mtume. He also wrote Cyclops.
Yes, Mtume
Yeah.
is a genius.
Yes, yeah. And the original recording was a 33 speed vinyl. And when the record was played by one of the disc jockeys in England, made a mistake and played it at 45 speed, it sounded absurd to me, the way I recorded it. But then I had to take into account it was right in the advent of the disco era.
Yeah.
And locked right in there and became a mega hit. And that really put me on the map. Since then, since the mid-70s, every time I come to England, people always say, "By Joe, Betty, could you play Prince on, sir?"
Absolutely.
I like my English accent.
Dare I say, it wasn't very good, but
Okay. That's right.
But the irony is your biggest hit, the biggest hit, and it was by accident.
Yeah, fluke accident. A fluke. Yeah.
A DJ making a mistake, putting it on, because I mean, that used to happen quite a lot.
Yeah.
You had vinyls and then things came out on 12-inch.
Right.
And that's what used to confuse you. It's like, because 12 inches were usually albums that would be 33. And then with the advent of, singles coming out on 12-inch, you forget that you've put a 12-inch on, but you forget that it's a single. You've got to put it to 45. Yeah. So, you could see how it happened. But my thing is, I think it is ironic that your biggest hit that everyone knows Eddie Henderson for was an accident.
Yeah, yeah. Well, let me backtrack a little bit. Even before I did Prance On, I had the opportunity to join Herbie Hancock's iconic Mwandishi group. And that was...
This man is going to be dropping names all the way through this interview.
Oh, yes.
Okay.
Well,
I continue.
Me rising to that level of musicianship was an accident, because I knew Herbie Hancock, but all we talked about was cars when he was with Miles Davis. It so happened Herbie Hancock came through San Francisco, and I was actually practicing medicine at the hospital during my psychiatric residency, and he needed a trumpet player, so people recommended me. So Herbie said, oh no, well, he's a doctor, but I've been playing all my life, but he didn't know that. So his regular trumpet player, Johnny Coles, was on sabbatical with Ray Charles for 6 months. So he just needed a trumpet player for 1 week. And so he, by accident, he hired me for that 1 week. And that opened the door to the rest of my musical career by accident. So when that week was over, I was like sky high with enthusiasm. And so I said, well, Herbie, I really have never played with musicians of this caliber. I really would like to be in the band, permanently. So he took like 2 seconds to think and said, okay. And that's the rest of my career unfolded. Just okay.
But it really is. That's another classic example of being in the right place at the right time, knowing the right people.
Exactly.
But also, there's the thing is, there's no such thing as good luck, because yes, the opportunity came to you, but you were prepared because of the work you'd been doing.
And so you had to be prepared also, because he wanted to see if I could read or not. But I had heard the music so much, I could read well by going to the Conservatory of Music.
Yeah.
So when he put the music up for me at the initial rehearsal, I was just playing. I was looking at the music, but I wasn't reading because I didn't have to. So he looked at me and says, "Oh, you read well." I said, "No, thanks."
Yeah, right. Yeah, very well.
Thanks, man. So he hired me just for that 1 week, and that opened the door for me to play with Elvin Jones, McCoy Tyner, Dexter Gordon, on and on and on. I'm not going to name drop anymore.
Oh, please do. It's very interesting. Feel free to name drop as much as you like. But as you say, it is when, good luck is when opportunity meets preparation, or vice versa. Preparation meets
They go
opportunity.
hand in hand.
Yeah.
Hand in
And of course, having that in your resume that you worked with Herbie Hancock
Mhm.
um, must have given your career quite a bit of trajectory.
A big impetus just
Yeah.
by virtue of being with him. These iconic people who I'd never dreamed of being able to play with, Joe Henderson, McCoy, Art Blakey, and the Jazz Messengers, they all called me by virtue of the
Having
fact that
played with Herbie
Herbie,
Hancock.
exactly.
Brilliant.
So I didn't have to work myself up to the ranks of auditioning and all that stuff. They just
Yeah.
called, yeah, hey, can you make the gig next week? Yeah, man.
And that's the thing. Everybody's life journey is completely different, and
Absolutely.
you can't ever compare. You just have to live your journey as it is. Others
Absolutely.
might see that that was luck, but they don't see the work and the preparation and the
True.
rehearsals and the practice
True.
that
Yeah,
you'd been doing from the conservatoire days. You know,
exactly.
the,
You might
the-
you have the luck, but if you don't have if you're not prepared when you
yeah.
get the opportunity, it's not going to last long.
But now you've thrown another string in there to your bow,
Yeah.
which happens to be that you were a doctor. So when
Oh,
did
yeah.
that come about in between all of this?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Well, all I wanted to do was really play the trumpet. But when my mother remarried this doctor in San Francisco, he and I really didn't get along that well. And when I was 14 years old, he told me that he was a doctor and that's the closest thing to God. And I'm not as smart as him, and I'm going to be a bum on the waterfront. So I said, oh, yeah, watch. So I went out of my way to be a doctor to prove him
Okay,
wrong. So that was the incentive for that.
right. But it wasn't really something you wanted to do. It was something you were doing
Not
more out
really.
of resentment.
Exactly. Yeah. Reverse psychology.
So what was your field?
Psychiatry. I picked after I finished medical school, did my internship, had my license. I didn't know what to do. Everybody else went and did a specialty. If I'd gone into surgery, obstetrics, gynecology, pediatrics, all those disciplines, I would have had to be on call every other night for the next 4 years. Psychiatry on call schedule was one night every 45 days. So I said, well, that's it. So I can play the trumpet more.
I was going to say once
Get
every
more opportunity to
45
play.
days. So the rest of the
Yeah,
time you were
that
free
was that.
to play and gig.
Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah, is that something?
So from you saying that, you were, what should we say, Billie Holiday and Lena Horne were your nannies, basically.
Absolutely. Yeah. Ironically so.
You're a New Yorker
Yes.
originally.
Yes.
Where in New York?
I lived in the Bronx, the
Okay.
Northeast Bronx. Yeah.
Which part of the Bronx?
Uh,
Flatbush,
sort of.
Bed-Stuy?
No, the Bed-Stuy is like in Brooklyn.
Br-
Uh, and this is like near Orchard Beach. Oh,
Okay,
yeah, it was like 15 minutes from Greenwich, Connecticut,
right.
right on the coast,
Yeah.
shoreline, Northeast Bronx. It
And
was
then
very
you moved from there in when you were 9, you said, down. That's quite a big move, isn't it? The family moving from New York down to LA,
to San Francisco.
San Francisco.
Yeah, I was 14 when I moved to San Francisco.
That's a big move.
It was a big move, but I had a very enjoyable time after I got to San Francisco. I loved it.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. Interesting. And what was the impetus for the move from New York to San Francisco?
Well, my real father died when I was
Yeah, I
9
remember you said that.
My mother remarried again when I was 14. So he was a doctor in San Francisco.
Oh, he was
But
from San Francisco,
yeah,
right?
he had his practice in San Francisco. So my mother and I moved out there.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, I'm loving the journey, and as I said, I think it's something quite special to be able to speak to somebody who was, even though they don't remember it because they were too young, they they were really nannied by the legends in music. And
Yeah.
not only that, had the opportunity to perform with them. And,
Oh, absolutely.
you know, well, because I mean, they were your mother's friends, so there was a
Yeah.
bond there.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
So you were like a little nephew, a
Yeah,
little
so to
nephew
speak.
that they were looking out for.
Yes. Yeah, this is true.
So what are you doing at the moment? Are you writing? Are you getting ready to
Well,
perform?
yeah, well, at the moment, for the last 10 years, I've been teaching at Oberlin College Conservatory of Music in Ohio. I would usually go like on a Tuesday. They fly me there. I teach Tuesday and come back to New York on a Wednesday. And just this last year, they've upgraded me to full professor of music. So it's very nice because they're so flexible. I just
Yeah.
give them a touring itinerary for each semester in advance, and they work around that schedule so I don't have to be there all the time. And so
It's
that's all.
almost like your psychiatry days, one day every 4 months.
Very similar. Very similar.
Very
So it
similar.
works out, it really coincides with my musical
Yeah.
travel,
Yeah.
schedule.
You're really able to pursue your real interest. Well, I mean, I guess teaching is a vocation as well.
Yeah.
So that's
Yeah.
very interesting, being able to pass the baton on to the next generation.
I really enjoyed that aspect of it, passing the baton to the upcoming generation to perpetuate, this ethnic tradition of quote unquote jazz music.
Yeah.
Because that does not take place, this will become extinct like the dinosaurs.
They'd be lost, yeah. And
Yeah,
the thing is, everything evolves. So even though you're teaching them the basics and the techniques, they'll still move it forward and make it their own. As I
oh,
guess
absolutely.
as I guess you have, because you don't play with the same style as the others. You
True.
were taught by them, they were your mentors, but Eddie Henderson stands on his own with his own
Yeah,
technique, style, and
yeah. And I
everything.
love it because I have some very talented students and they're really keeping me on my toes too.
Really.
Yeah,
But
oh yeah.
But that's what keeps it exciting when you actually have to go home and study to keep up with the questions that the students are asking.
Right. And just the playing facility is very high level,
Right.
so it keeps me on my toes.
So after we saw you at the Pizza Express in
Yeah.
London, did you do any more dates in London or go back to the States to do any
I
dates?
went right back to the States the following day.
Oh, the
Ye-
following day. Wow.
Yes. Yeah.
No room to breathe. That's a
No,
tight
no,
schedule.
there wasn't. Yeah.
So are you performing anything up to the end of the year or are you finished now?
Yes, this coming week I'm playing at Dizzy's Jazz Club for 4 nights with a wonderful singer, Mary Stallings. Are you familiar with her?
No, I'm not.
Oh, well, she's if you didn't see her, just heard her, you swear to God it was Nancy Wilson. Yeah.
Nancy Wilson's my favorite.
Oh, yeah, yeah. But she's a fabulous singer, and ironically, she and I, Mary Stallings and I, went to the same high school together back in San Francisco. Yeah,
Right.
a fabulous singer. And then after that, a club called Smoke at the end of December. I'm playing 2 nights with a festival called the John Coltrane Festival. They're playing all of John Coltrane's music with the very talented musicians in New York.
Wonderful. So
Yeah.
when can we look forward to having the pleasure of you back in the UK again?
Well, I believe I'm coming back to Ronnie Scott's in April, if I'm not mistaken.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. How many
I don't have to,
days?
I don't, I think just one night at Ronnie Scott's.
You can't do that to us in London. That's very cruel. That's
I
very
know.
one night. That's cruel.
Yeah. It wasn't my making of the, but I will contact you and let you know exactly what night it is. I don't have the calendar right in front
And you
of me.
know where I'll be sitting, right in the front row.
Oh, absolutely. You know. Put your glasses up here.
With my glasses up. That's my trademark. My glasses right there.
That's your logo.
Well, Mr. Henderson, it has been a pleasure to not only see you live, but to speak to you. And thank you very much for being so generous with your time and telling your life story.
Believe me, it's been my pleasure. Thanks so much for having me. Wonderful seeing you again, my friend.
Yes, indeed. So we will close now. Thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you.
We look forward to seeing you in the UK in the new year.
Prance on.
Indeed. And you know you have to put that in the lineup this time. You can't do that again.
Okay, okay, my friend.
Michelle, we've got witnesses. It came out of his mouth. Prance on, okay. London in April. You take care. All the very best.
Thank you. All the best to you too.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.